Hi, I'm Mark Richmond from Chef Knives To Go. I'm going to demonstrate a few items that are on our in our store. This is a knife that I'm going to sharpen. It's a Dojo 180mm Gyuto. It has a really nice blade on it. Very nice finish. Beautiful little detail on the top here and a little sandblasted kind of secondary edge here. And the core steel is really good stuff. It's Aogami Super Steel. And these are pretty inexpensive knives. They have a simple handle on them. And I like them a lot. Anyways, I'm going to sharpen with three stones. This is a Imanishi 800 Dragon. And this one is the Bester 2K. And then I'm going to finish it with the, this is the 6K, what's the name of it? Sanyo stone, that's the name. So anyways, I'm going to have at it. Got to try to sharpen this fast enough so I can hit YouTube's limit, and so I can post this on YouTube and then on our site. This 800 stone's really nice. It's smooth, it's consistent, cuts pretty quickly, wears pretty slowly. I like it a lot. I've been using this one for a few months now. You can see I start kind of perpendicular to the stone, and then I turn the knife as I get up on the belly of the knife up toward the tip. Just something I've gotten used to doing. Alright, I have a burr on the knife already, except for right up at the tip. Okay, I've got a burr along the entire edge, so I'm ready to run it through on the other side. You can see I switch hands so that I always have the spine toward me and the edge away. Some people do it this way. Other people flip the knife over and they sharpen it this way using the same lead hand and the same forward hand. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. I got used to doing this early on. It felt more natural to me to do it this way. I have pretty good control over my left hand, even though I'm right-handed, so works for me. But there's no right or wrong way to do this if you get a good edge. So, guessing that worked, and it did. All I'm feeling for is a scratch along my finger pads, and if it scratches it, that means I have a burr. So that did it. Got a burr on both sides. Now I'm just going to take that burr off. I'm using what's called edge trailing strokes here. I'm going to try to take that burr off. And then I'm going to run it through a little synthetic cork. All kinds of stuff work to deburr your knife. This works pretty well. We have a little deburring block that works a little better, but I don't have it with me. No big deal. Okay, so that's done. That stone is done. I'm going to move on to the 2K, and if I did a pretty good job on that first stone, this second one should be a little quicker. I've already soaked all three of these stones. Two of them are sitting in water right now, or one of them now. This one just came out. Soak time on these are maybe 10 minutes. You can do less or more. If the stone dries out as you're sharpening, especially with this little sink bridge, it's super easy to just splash some more water on top. Keep going. I don't perma-soak my stones. A lot of people do. I tend to think that my stones work better if I just let them air dry after I'm done and I put them away. They get kind of funky if you leave them in water for a long time. I don't know. I don't like it. You can see this stone, even though it's a 2K stone, it cuts pretty fast. You can see all this black swarf on here, especially against the pink stone, and that's all metal. And got a nice burr on here still, which is good. For an angle, I don't really, I don't know, over time I've gotten to learn where a good sharpening angle is for most of my knives, and that angle is about the thickness of my pinky, maybe a little less. So I don't pay a whole lot of attention to that now. Once you get muscle memory from sharpening, you can pretty much keep that angle consistent. Or if you can't, then you're not going to get a good edge. Okay, I'm going to check for the burr again. Every time you grind, the little flap of metal called a burr curls up. So when you run your finger pads down like this, you'll feel it scratch against those finger pads. And each time you flip it over, it'll go on to the reverse side, the opposite side from where you're grinding. And I feel a burr on the entire blade again, so I've done my job on this stone. And I go through the same process to try to eliminate some or all of that burr by just running it backwards over the stone and then drawing it through that cork again. You can see the little black lines, that's burr coming off the knife. It's metal. Alright, so I should have a 2K edge at this point. We're going to just go and sharpen it a little bit more on the Sanyo stone 6K, which is this. I've already flattened all these stones. I used my DMT plate for that. I have this big DMT extra coarse plate. Works great on flattening anything. I use it for all my stones up to about 10K. People ask me all the time, well, isn't that too coarse a stone to do your fine stones on? And the answer is no, it's perfectly fine. Works great. Don't worry about that. Okay, so last stone. I'm going to do the same process. And you can see this particular stone is it's real nice. It's got a nice feel to it. It's a relatively hard 6K stone, and I like hard stones for the most part. They tend to wear more slowly, and I'm much more comfortable with a harder stone than the real soft stones. Soft stones, you run into some issues. If you wobble on the stone, you can gouge them pretty easily. Also, if you push too hard, you end up kind of snow plowing into the stone, and it curls your edge, and it gives you worse results. And it's another thing I get emailed about a lot. Is people email me and say, I get a great edge on my 1K stone, but then I move to my 6K or 8K stone and it gets worse. Well, it's usually a technique issue with how you're using the stone. You can't press as hard on the real fine stones, especially if they're softer. And and so I'm pressing a little bit harder than I normally would just because I want to get through the video, but still lighter than the other stones that I used. Okay, so that's a quick 3-stone progression. Just going to give it a couple stropping strokes or edge trailing strokes. I'm going to deburr it again, probably doesn't even need it, but this is just extra assurance that there's no burr on there. If you have the burr still on the knife, it tends to get in the way of your edge, so it will flap around and roll over and affect the performance of cutting ability of the knife. It's not the end of the world or anything, but anyways, it's such an easy thing to clean off. It's worth it. Alright, so I'm done. This should be a sharp knife. Hope it is. One way to test. There's a couple ways. Try shaving a little. Okay, you can see I don't have hair on my arm there anymore, so that worked okay. Obviously, cutting food is what I would recommend you try the most, but I have some newspaper here. That's pretty sharp. So anyways, I'm Mark Richmond. This is the Dojo. This is Imanishi Dragon 800. This is the Bester 2K. And this is the Sanyo stone. And I'm from Chef Knives to Go, and stay sharp.